Ann Makovic, and this is the Minute. It is not looking good for San Mateo County's embattled sheriff. Early results from yesterday's special election show 85% of voters approving Measure A. If passed, it would give supervisors the power to remove Sheriff Christina Corpus from office. Today, the Supreme Court ruled against the Trump administration's foreign aid freeze. The 5-4 decision reinstates a lower court's order to disperse up to $2 billion owed to contractors for the State Department. 2 Republican justices sided with the liberal. And a young museum and the Legion of Honor could reduce their operating hours and slash staff because of San Francisco's budget crisis. Museum officials say they are working with the mayor's office to try to find ways to cut costs without reducing hours of operations. I'm Ann Makovic with the Minutes.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
It's a cool, cloudy, wet day for us today here in the Bay Area as we're seeing showers sweep in from the south into our lunchtime hours today. This is just around 11 o'clock. Notice how the peninsula all the way off into the East Bay sees light to moderate showers in the forecast. We'll catch a break for a little bit as we gear up for dinner time, but then more showers are expected to roll in from offshore. The best thing I could suggest, keep that umbrella handy at all times. I know it's on and off throughout the next couple days. However, as we head into our Thursday forecast, we'll see a lot more showers up in the North Bay, giving them close to around 1/10 of an inch before we clear up into our Friday forecast, where we see sunny skies expected for us from Friday heading into Saturday, right around the corner. But from now until Friday, as we are dealing with this unsettled weather pattern, we can see close to around 1/4 of an inch of rain down into the Santa Clara Valley, with about 1/100 of an inch off into the East Bay, and a little bit more impressive numbers up into the North Bay, topping off close to around 1/10 of an inch from Santa Rosa over into Napa. All of us throughout the Bay Area, though, will clear up as we head into Friday, Saturday. Sunday starts off dry, but heading into Sunday evening, early Monday morning, we get more clouds rolling in from offshore, and that'll give us our next batch of showers right around the corner. Notice how our temperatures are going to warm up a little bit, too, as we get rid of the rain. As we head from Thursday into Friday, we jump from the upper 50s to lower 60s with sunny skies all throughout the Bay Area, from Oakland over into San Francisco and everywhere in between. You make your way into our Sunday forecast, well, those clouds start rolling in from offshore as we gear up for another cold front that will drop our temperatures in our inland areas down even more. For example, the East Bay, the Santa Clara Valley, we get close to the 70s as we head into our Saturday and Sunday forecast, and then we drop right back down into the upper 50s heading into Monday and Tuesday of next week with rain around the corner.
There is a lot of talk about politics today, and when it comes to our place in the union, California has long been in a class of its own. You might have seen President Trump address a very divided Congress last night. And with that deep divide, a radical idea is once again in the headlines. There is a new push for California to secede from the United States. While Trump won the general election in November by more than 2 million votes, California went the other way, with former Vice President Kamala Harris taking more than 58% of that vote. Our Max Darrow traveled to Fresno to meet the man driving the Calexit movement.
Of the 50 stars on the American flag, star number 31 became California's in 1850. But nearly 200 years later, there's a growing push for that marriage to end from people who believe California and America have drifted too far apart. And Fresno native Marcus Ruiz Evans is leading the way.
Everybody thought I was insane when I proposed this originally, and everybody said it was going to go nowhere.
Ruiz Evans is advocating for California to secede and become an independent nation in what has become known as Calexit.
I think California values are completely different from American values, and they've been that way for a long time.
Every day, he has conversation after conversation, working to raise awareness to his cause.
Do you have a few minutes to talk?
For him, it's personal. He says his mom moved from Texas to California as a young woman. The reason...
So she came here, and she was treated with equality and respect. So with my aunts.
He's passionate, with strong feelings towards the current administration and the State of the Union.
I think when you have insurrections and you have one half of the country say that's cool, and then elect a president who led the insurrection, yeah, you're already there.
Every 4 years, do you want to go through this fear that you're going to lose access, as you know it, to clean air, clean water, clean land, less pollution, safe places for transgender, undocumented immigrants not having to live in terror, etc.
But Ruiz Evans says the idea for this movement actually came well before President Trump's first term in office.
I got the idea in 2007.
Ruiz Evans says the Calexit movement has gained new and significant traction.
We think we've gone to the point where it doesn't work. There are people out there who will respond to California as a nation.
And there is potential that Californians will get a chance to vote on this. If a little over 546,000 registered voters sign these petitions by mid-July,
People sign here, we can.
Californians will see the question, should California leave the United States and become a free and independent country on the 2028 ballot?
I think we can get it.
But there's a catch. If it winds up on the ballot and enough voters do say yes, it wouldn't mean California secedes. It would create an official commission to study California's viability as an independent nation.
No, it doesn't make secession automatically happen. You can't do that. That's illegal.
That rule comes from the 1869 Supreme Court ruling of Texas versus White. In a 5-3 decision, the court ruled states do not have the right to unilaterally secede. But there's a line from the majority opinion that Ruiz Evans points to that he believes reveals a legal pathway there. Justice Salmon Portland Chase writes, the union between Texas and the other states was as complete, as perpetual, and as indissoluble as the union between the original states. There was no place for reconsideration or revocation, except through revolution or through consent of the states.
Texas versus White literally says consent of the states. Consent is not defined. Only a Supreme Court can define that.
And his belief is that with the current Republican supermajority, a consensus could be reached.
They have the power alone to vote us out.
There's probably no way it really can secede, but if it did, California could survive on its own.
By the balance sheet, Professor Henry Brady, an economics and political science expert at UC Berkeley, says California sends more federal tax dollars to Washington, D.C. than any other state and is less dependent on federal dollars than most states. On top of that, the state of California has the 6th largest economy in the world.
We are an enormously important part of the nation because we produce so much gross national product. So to lose California, despite its wokeness that bothers Mr. Trump, would in fact be a problem for the United States.
But Brady thinks it still would also be problematic for California.
And I think in the end you would find that in fact economically we'd be worse off if we left the United States. I think it's an example of what happens when you have a lot of stuff going on in a country like we do right now, and a group decides, well, maybe the answer to the problem is to get away from the United States because we could do it better if we did it on our own.
I'm a second-generation farmer, grower. I can't envision the United States without California.
Aaron Gill's family roots run deep in the Golden State.
California's home.
He, too, thinks there are big issues that the state and the nation are facing that need solving.
If you take agriculture really doesn't get the respect it deserves in California about how many people it feeds.
And even bigger picture.
And I see more of a divide of have-nots and haves. We're at one of those junctions in history that a conversation is being forced.
Gill is representative of many Californians who understand the divisive issues facing Americans, but thinks the idea of secession is simply not an option.
California will do better being part of the United States versus apart from it. So I welcome more discussion and more debate. That's what I think will bring more balance to how California develops.
Though he disagrees with the Calexit movement, Gill says he does see value in the conversation this has sparked.
It's an out-of-the-box conversation, but it will bring in a lot of conversations or a lot of dialogue in terms of why California, what is its future, what should it be, and what can it be, and what position does it play within the United States as a whole.
If Calexit were to succeed, Ruiz Evans says cooperation between California and the United States would be essential.
Putting up walls between America and California would be disastrous for both of our economies.
He knows the idea may sound drastic.
They're totally right. This is extreme. This is radical.
But to Ruiz Evans, these divided times call for radical measures.
Again, the movement needs more than 500,000 signatures by mid-July. At last check, late last month, about 100,000 people had signed up with about 4 months to go. Well, keep an eye on that. Meantime, the Trump administration could move ahead with tariffs against Canada and Mexico as soon as today. President Trump doubled down on those tariffs and shrinking the size of the federal government in his address to Congress last night. Natalie Brand shows us how he appealed to his base and bashed Democrats.
Do you know who number 2 is? George Washington. How about that? How about that?
President Trump touted swift and unrelenting actions during the first 6 weeks of his second term, from border security
They heard my words and they chose not to come.
to shrinking the size of the federal government.
I imposed an immediate freeze on all federal hiring, a freeze on all new federal regulations, and a freeze on all foreign aid.
Republicans reveled in the campaign-style speech while Democrats protested. Texas Congressman Al Green was even escorted from the chamber. The official Democratic response from Michigan Senator Alyssa Slotkin warned of a reckless approach, and she took aim at advisor Elon Musk.
Is there anyone in America who is comfortable with him and his gang of 20-year-olds using their own computer servers to poke through your tax returns, your health information, and your bank accounts?
A CBS News poll out this morning shows around 76% of a heavily Republican audience watching last night approved of the president's speech.
But as fears of a trade war dampen consumer confidence, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick promised some movement on tariffs against Canada and Mexico as soon as today.
It will not eliminate the tariffs, but it might modify the tariffs somewhat.
There could also be movement with Ukraine after a letter from President Zelensky to President Trump following last week's explosive Oval Office meeting.
We are where we are now. We think this was a positive step.
Also revealed last night, the arrest of one of the suspected planners of the 2021 bombing attack outside Kabul that killed 13 U.S. service members in Afghanistan. That suspect is due in a Virginia courtroom this afternoon.
President Trump did make numerous false or misleading claims during his address. Our CBS News Confirmed team fact-checked some of his remarks, including this one about Social Security payouts when referring to alleged government fraud.
Believe it or not, government databases list 4.7 million Social Security members from people aged 100 to 109 years old.
But according to CBS News Confirmed, while there is evidence of some Social Security fraud, there's no evidence that there are large numbers of people over 100 years old receiving Social Security benefits illegally. President Trump also spoke about transgender issues and his executive orders targeting care for transgender children.
Wokeness is trouble. Wokeness is bad. It's gone. It's gone. And we feel so much better for it, don't we? Don't we feel better?
The address also exposed the deep divide between Republicans and Democrats. Even before the speech began, as Trump walked in, a Republican grabbed a sign out of a Democrat's hands that said, "This is not normal," and just threw it in the air. So what is ahead for the economy, and how is this all going to play out politically? We got some insight today from Sonoma State political science professor David McEwen.
I mean, this was a scripted MAGA event placed in Congress, and the president lays out the litany of accomplishments that he sees. The pathway forward is a little bit different. It's a little bit more complicated because of the timing, not just with March 14th and what happens, but as we get closer and closer to the April 30th, April 29th, 100-day mark, that's going to be critical as well. So let's watch and see what happens. We've seen the market in terms of the economy and this push on tariffs. Sometimes events supersede the best laid plans. You see that with tariffs and what's happened the last 48 hours, and that could have an important impact on consumers as well moving forward.
Manny's in the Mission hosted a watch party last night. Most of the attendees have always been progressive. Only about 14 people showed up and only 4 were left by the end. Owner told us he almost didn't hold this event, but he felt he needed to provide a space where people could be together.
I think people would rather pretend this isn't happening and rather pretend that he wasn't the president, that he wasn't making this address. And it is a moment where a lot of people are just, going like that. And I don't blame them. I understand it.
The owner tells us on election night, there were about 2,000 people who stopped by Manny's. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, some peace of mind for people living in Oakland. How the city is keeping fire stations off the chopping block for now.
We listened to that outrage.
Plus, after a swarm of police cleaned up the park, sweeping out drug dealers in San Francisco, we're hearing from neighbors now hoping that the change will last.
It made me wonder, like, where did they go?
And we are meeting a new challenger in California politics, the tech entrepreneur that aims to unseat San Francisco Representative Nancy Pelosi.
Cloudy and wet day for us today here in the Bay Area with on and off showers in the forecast throughout the afternoon hours today, clearing up a little bit into the overnight hours tonight. But here's the thing, we get another day of showers in the forecast for us by Thursday before we clear up and warm up as we head into this weekend. By Friday and Saturday, it's looking beautiful with sunny skies, just in time to do any outdoor activities by the weekend. But once we head into early next week, we get another series of showers right around the corner that starts Monday heading into Tuesday.
It is official. Several temporarily closed fire stations in Oakland are going to be back in service. City council members voted last night to reopen 3 fire stations and stop the closure of 4 more. As John Ramos reports, this comes as the city continues to struggle to close a major budget gap.
The numbers are daunting. The budget deficit stands at $129 million in a city where the vast majority of money goes to paying workers, especially those who work in public safety jobs. So when fire stations 25 and 28 went dark in January, Councilmember Janani Ramachandran says the public reaction was immediate.
When these brownouts went into effect in January of this year, the communities across Oakland were outraged. And we listened to that outrage.
She and council members Rebecca Kaplan and Zach Unger began searching for money and found about $8 million in different places that could be put toward reopening the fire stations.
The message from the Oakland community has been loud and clear. While there's a lot of competing interest for our limited dollars, nothing trumps public safety, and fire stations are the bread and butter of public safety.
But the money would only keep the stations open until June, when the new fiscal year begins. And the cuts that could be coming will likely be even deeper. The various employee unions, including the firefighters, blame the city for mismanagement, but they also point to more than $50 million of overspending by the police department, much of it going to pay overtime to officers. But police union head Huy Nguyen says that's only happening because the force has lost about 25% of its officers over the years, while the number of calls for help has grown.
Issues of blaming us for the problem. The problem is that city leadership needs to adequately staff the police department and also provide the number of funding that it should be so we can provide service, or make some really tough decision to cut the services that we're providing. And I don't think anybody's willing to do that.
But it does seem like they're willing to cut the fire department. So doesn't that pit you against them in some ways when it comes to the budget?
I mean, we look at the numbers and we look at the percentage of money that's being spent, and you look at the fire department percentage of how much they spent on overtime compared to the percentage on how much we are spent. The overall number is bigger by numbers, but the percentage is greater in the fire department.
But the firefighters union president, Seth Ollier, says their overtime is the result of more than 80,000 annual calls for service at a time when stations are being shut down.
Oaklanders will die if they have to wait for emergency services. That is a fact. Houses will burn to the ground. This is not me being melodramatic. These are facts. As far as pitting one group against one another, this is a zero-sum game. There is only so much money to go around. And yes, if it was up to me, I would keep every station fully staffed and open. That is my goal.
At this point, it's a problem without a real solution. All departments will likely take a hit when the budget axe finally swings. The employee unions accuse the city of mismanagement, but Oakland's fiscal hole comes from having more workers than it can afford, no matter how valuable they may be.
More than 92,000 ballots already counted in yesterday's special election in San Mateo County. And voters are sending a clear message. They want supervisors to have the power to remove embattled Sheriff Christina Corpus. Early results showing more than 85% voted yes on Measure A. If finalized, 4 of 5 supervisors have to vote to remove Sheriff Corpus and explain why. She faced scrutiny last year after an independent report accused her of corruption and abuse of power. Despite calls to resign, Corpus refused. We spoke with one voter who agrees with the concerns about the sheriff, but disagrees with the process.
I think that there was a better way to handle this by doing a recall election instead of trying to take over power.
Others would rather have voters decide if Corpus is fit for the job.
I don't want us to undermine Sheriff Corpus's accomplishments because it sounds like there's been a lot of them. But what's going on now sounds like there's something amiss.
Maybe this is just giving the city council more power to further investigate and further figure out what to do about the situation.
Sheriff Corpus insists she did nothing wrong and is suing the county for discrimination. Another student has been arrested at Elsie Allen High School in Santa Rosa. This time, police say they found a loaded gun and a knife on him. Police got an anonymous tip about a gun on campus, and the student was arrested yesterday. They say the student tried to run away, but was taken into custody. Once they caught that student, officers say they found that loaded gun in his bag and the knife in his pocket. That student was booked into juvenile hall. This comes just a week after a different student at Elsie Allen High School was arrested in connection with a stabbing on campus. Well, some people in San Francisco breathing a whole lot easier today after police moved in and made dozens of arrests at Jefferson Square Park. On the left, rampant drug use and other illegal activity at the park just last week, and on the right, an entirely different scene this week. The park sits on top of a hill in the city's western addition. Our Kara St. Cyr spoke with some neighbors who see this as a positive sign, but are worried that the drug market could return.
Just days ago, patches of burnt grass, trash, and fentanyl needles littered the ground at Jefferson Square Park. Pam DeLuca would see it when she walked her dog in the early morning hours.
2, 3 a.m., I mean, this park was full of people, like 40 or more people. Lots of people slumped over on fentanyl, and then other people like selling things, and it was just really like a circus out here.
The area had become known as Zombie Park because of its reputation for drugs and illegal vending. But today, DeLuco sees nothing. Last Wednesday night, dozens of law enforcement officers descended on the park, arresting 86 people and confiscating more than a pound of drugs, including fentanyl. San Francisco police shared this video showing officers making arrests on Goff and Eddy near the edge of the park. The suspects face a range of charges, from felony drug sales to misdemeanor loitering. The DA says many of them had outstanding arrest warrants already. Now that the raid is over, DeLuco has questions.
And it made me wonder, like, where did they go?
In the last couple of months, police have ramped up crackdowns on drug market hotspots like 6th Street, shifting some of the activity to other parts of the city. Sebastian, who lives near Jefferson Square Park and asked us not to show his face, expressed his concerns about what's next.
What about if they come back? Because they keep coming back before this big raid. They would come back. A few hours later, they would come back, not the next day, but a few hours later.
The park now has bright lights installed to deter illegal behavior. We reached out to SFPD for details on plans to prevent future drug use in the area. In a statement, they wrote, "We're working closely with other city agencies, including San Francisco Recreation and Parks, to make sure the parks remain safe and enjoyable to the community." Last week, Chief Bill Scott told us the operation is a first step in an ongoing effort to break up drug markets.
So it's not something that you're going to see every single day, but you will see this more often, and we're going to use this as a strategy to deal with this displacement that has been haunting us.
Sebastian says the park almost feels like it did 30 years ago. He says he's enjoying the peace for now.
Okay, just look at this. Just people walking around, and you can hear the birds, peaceful, tranquil.
We reached out to the district attorney's office for any updates on charges and have not yet heard back. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, how police in the Tenderloin transformed part of their station into a special classroom for neighborhood kids.
Before being a police officer, I actually taught judo at a youth center that I went to as a kid.
into our early morning hours tomorrow, we get another series of showers waking us up as we head out the door, this time impacting the North Bay too. However, by Friday, we clear up and we dry up fast. So in total from today until Friday, we could see anywhere up to around 1/10 of an inch of rain up into the North Bay, closer to 1/4 of an inch all the way down into the Santa Clara Valley and areas like San Jose stretched over into Mountain View. We take a look at the next 7 days. Friday and Saturday is looking beautiful. We're going to see sunny skies as we head into this weekend, but that looks a lot different as we head into early next week. Here's that break I was just talking about. Friday and Saturday will try to warm up into the mid-60s in the Bay. We'll see cloudier skies roll in on Sunday, and then rain returns as early as Monday and Tuesday of next week. So keep that in mind as we plan out our weekend and as Gianna and Reed plan out their meals based off of the weather too. Here's what's happening for us for Friday and Saturday in our inland spots. We get close to the 70s. We don't touch it necessarily, but we get even closer as we head into our Sunday forecast, just ahead of that next cold front rolling in from offshore that will bring in more rain for us by Monday and Tuesday of next week and drop those temperatures right back down to the upper 50s.
Police officers in San Francisco's Tenderloin Station are teaching judo to kids in the neighborhood. Our Suji Nam takes us inside one of their classes and shows us why this is so much more than just a sport.
At the San Francisco Police Tenderloin Station,
there you go.
In this quaint community room,
there you go.
Officer Thomas Smith has traded in his police uniform for a judogi.
Before being a police officer, I actually taught judo at a youth center that I went to as a kid.
He, along with other officers, are spearheading this free judo program with the San Francisco Police Activities League. Every Wednesday, students ages 7 to 17 practice the art of discipline through martial arts.
Saw a need here in the Tenderloin because the Tenderloin may be the smallest district in San Francisco, but it has the most amount of kids here.
That other foot.
Kids like Alba Bildaji and her classmates. Bildaji is no novice when it comes to martial arts.
I've been doing jiu-jitsu for almost 4 years, and I started doing boxing like almost a year ago.
The 4th grader has learned judo is not only about self-defense, but a way to build confidence.
I feel kind of special.
A lesson Officer Smith experienced as well.
It gave me self-confidence when I really didn't have any, and it gave me self-esteem, and it taught me how to respect myself.
Teaching respect in this community room.
Step across.
Where just steps outside is where Officer Smith patrols the neighborhood to combat crime and an ongoing drug crisis.
There was a tremendous need to help kids give a place that's safe to go.
A safe space inspiring the next generation of leaders how to stand tall and go for your dreams.
The focus of the program is on the principles of judo, like respect and perseverance, physical skills, and personal growth, all while creating a sense of community. Coming up in our next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, longtime San Francisco Representative Nancy Pelosi has a challenger for her seat. Why this new candidate says it's time for a change.
It's an instinct. I think we're in a moment where it could happen.
Plus, why a San Francisco bathhouse is facing backlash for trying to host Ladies' Night.
I came from Alabama specifically to escape that type of prejudice and hate.
Makovic, and this is the minute. It is not looking good for San Mateo County's embattled sheriff. Early results from yesterday's special election show 85% of voters approving Measure A. If passed, that would give supervisors the power to remove Sheriff Christina Corpus from office. 4 Oakland fire stations that were slated to close will remain open. 3 stations that have already closed are going to reopen their doors as well. Last night, council members passed a resolution to reopen stations 10, 25, and 28 through June, when the new fiscal year begins. And today, the Supreme Court ruled against the Trump administration's foreign aid freeze. The 5-4 decision reinstates a lower court's order to disperse up to $2 billion owed to contractors for the State Department. 2 conservative justices sided with the liberal justices. I'm Ann Makovic with the minutes.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
It's a cool, cloudy, wet day for us today here in the Bay Area as we're seeing showers sweep in from the south into our lunchtime hours today. This is just around 11 o'clock. Notice how the peninsula all the way off into the East Bay sees light to moderate showers in the forecast. We'll catch a break for a little bit as we gear up for dinner time, but then more showers are expected to roll in from offshore. The best thing I could suggest, keep that umbrella handy at all times. I know it's on and off throughout the next couple days. However, as we head into our Thursday forecast, we'll see a lot more showers up in the North Bay, giving them close to around 1/10 of an inch before we clear up into our Friday forecast, where we see sunny skies expected for us from Friday heading into Saturday, right around the corner. But from now until Friday, as we are dealing with this unsettled weather pattern, we can see close to around 1/4 of an inch of rain down into the Santa Clara Valley, with about 1/100 of an inch off into the East Bay, and a little bit more impressive numbers up into the North Bay, topping off close to around 1/10 of an inch from Santa Rosa over into Napa. All of us throughout the Bay Area, though, will clear up as we head into Friday, Saturday. Sunday starts off dry, but heading into Sunday evening, early Monday morning, we get more clouds rolling in from offshore, and that'll give us our next batch of showers right around the corner. Notice how our temperatures are going to warm up a little bit, too, as we get rid of the rain. As we head from Thursday into Friday, we jump from the upper 50s to lower 60s with sunny skies all throughout the Bay Area, from Oakland over into San Francisco and everywhere in between. You make your way into our Sunday forecast. Well, those clouds start rolling in from offshore as we gear up for another cold front that will drop our temperatures in our inland areas down even more. For example, the East Bay, the Santa Clara Valley, we get close to the 70s as we head into our Saturday and Sunday forecast, and then we drop right back down into the upper 50s heading into Monday and Tuesday of next week with rain around the corner.
A new challenger in California politics says Democratic congressional leaders were paralyzed and unprepared for the second Trump presidency. Soikat Chakrabarti recently announced his candidacy, determined to unseat Nancy Pelosi. Kenny Choi takes a closer look at the inner workings of his campaign launch and why the self-made tech multimillionaire is entering the race.
Soikat Chakrabarti is gunning for Nancy Pelosi's congressional seat.
It's an instinct. I think we're in a moment where it could happen. How about Grace? I'll go to you next.
In the early stages of his campaign, instead of door-knocking first, a concerted effort to host online meetings.
I feel the Democratic Party is basically broken.
With a handful of voters who sign up on his website to join and ask questions.
I'm going to find every way I can to talk to everybody that I possibly can in San Francisco and get my message to them directly.
In 2018, the former software engineer who left Wall Street and Silicon Valley success spearheaded a political action committee to bring new voices to Washington.
Both parties have been ignoring kind of the biggest problems facing most people.
That includes cost of living and economic opportunities. He recruited and guided Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to unseat longtime incumbent and high-ranking Democratic Congressman Joe Crowley of New York.
If that could happen then in that lower change environment, what could happen right now?
Chakrabarti says Pelosi and Democratic leaders were paralyzed and unprepared to take on Trump and Elon Musk. He says a transformation of the party begins with her seat.
I've got a lot of respect for a lot of what Nancy Pelosi's accomplished in her time in Congress. But I just think we're in a different era now.
David McEwen is a political science professor at Sonoma State University.
The progressives have always been disappointed in Nancy Pelosi. They'll continue to be disappointed with Nancy Pelosi. But the progressive left senses an opportunity to push the moment of generational change.
Change that McEwen says leaves the future uncertain for Democrats.
There is this moment and this attempt to move the party to the left When there's a lot of people, a lot of polling, a lot of data, a lot of analysts looking at this and saying, what was the message for Democrats out of November? And that question has not been resolved.
Chakrabarty believes Pelosi, who has served in Congress for 37 years, is out of touch.
I'm not sure she realizes the level to which the average person, or even most people in this country and in San Francisco, are really feeling the squeeze of just how expensive these big essentials have gotten.
We reached out to Pelosi's office but did not get a response seeking comment.
To really rebuild this party, we needed a whole new generation of leaders who are committed to this kind of a vision of really going out there and first admitting that there's a problem, which I think the party often doesn't admit at all.
For now, it starts with convincing one voter at a time, hoping that leads to a massive grassroots movement.
A little short notice, but I really appreciate it.
Chakrabarty plans to fund part of his campaign with his own money. Right now, he runs a policy think tank that develops comprehensive solutions to the problems that both America and San Francisco face. He's the son of immigrants who attended public school in Texas, then graduated from Harvard University. He catapulted onto the political stage working for Bernie Sanders during his 2016 presidential run. Now to a boycott against a bathhouse in San Francisco that protesters say has policies that exclude transgender people. Our Kelsey Thorid spoke with some of those protesters who insist it is a sign of a troubling trend in this country.
A group of transgender rights advocates are calling for a boycott of a San Francisco spa they say is enacting anti-trans exclusionary policies.
It's exclusion, it's discrimination. It goes against everything that I came here for.
Brett Mormoray says she was told she would not be allowed to participate in a ladies' night at Archimedes Banya unless she remained clothed at all times inside the clothing-optional spa.
I came from Alabama specifically to escape that type of prejudice and hate. And I got here and I found out this city has just as much of it.
The Russian bathhouse offers one women's-only night and one men's-only night each month. On their website, they say the nights are to, quote, shelter religious preferences of women and men in their community. Therefore, they limit participation to sex assigned at birth.
It kind of set off some alarm bells for me because in a lot of Slavic culture, like pre-Christian Slavic cultures, there was a lot of gender and sexuality was much more fluid than, and it was put down by the Christians. But even without all that, there are a lot of Catholic, Orthodox, Jewish, and Muslim people who are trans allies, if not trans themselves.
Jordan says she herself is of Slavic origin. To try and reach a compromise, the spa put out a statement saying they will offer one inclusive women's-only night where trans women will be welcome and another cultural and religious women's night where only those assigned female at birth will be allowed in. Jordan says that's no compromise at all.
That response is really discriminatory when you think about it, because if you had a night where you excluded, say, a certain race, that would not fly. And we're just saying that it won't fly. It won't fly. That trans exclusive nights won't fly.
Offer them to us every day. We're not any different than the other individuals.
Dakota Rose Austin says the controversy at the spa seems to be just another example of what she says is an increase in anti-trans policies across the country.
As Latinos, as trans, as queer, as African American, the fear is turned now. If you've weaponized DEI and affirmative action and all these other things that were in benefit of everyone in America, and you've weaponized them against us, now I'm in fear.
Protesters, including Breath, say they plan to continue to picket outside of the spa until they change their policy, allowing trans customers every night of the month.
Well, the sport of surfing has not been known for diversity, but that's starting to change. Coming up next, how one organization along the Central Coast is empowering more people of color to ride the waves.
It's a cool, cloudy, and wet day for us today here in the Bay Area with on and off showers in the forecast throughout the afternoon hours today, clearing up a little bit into the overnight hours tonight. But here's the thing, we get another day of showers in the forecast for us by Thursday before we clear up and warm up as we head into this weekend. By Friday and Saturday, it's looking beautiful with sunny skies, just in time to do any outdoor activities by the weekend. But once we head into early next week, we get another series of showers right around the corner that starts Monday heading into Tuesday.
Surfing has long been a sport where we don't typically see a lot of diversity, but Santa Cruz's Black Surf organization is helping expand the sport for everybody. Founded by Isabella Bonner back in 2020, Black Surf Santa Cruz is empowering more people of color to take to the waves. As surfing's diversity grows, surf schools and resorts across the globe, from Costa Rica to Santa Cruz, are seeing more women and families dive in. The organization hopes to prove that the sport is truly for all.
Seeing more people that look like you in the water really kind of calls you to want to try something new yourself.
Back in the day, it was primarily just a father thing or just a son thing, but it's nice to see families getting involved in surf session.
According to a diversity report by the Surf Industry Members Association as of last year, Black, Hispanic, and AAPI surfers now make up nearly 40% of the surfing population, and women make up 40% of the total population. In honor of Women's History and Empowerment Month, a group of girls had a unique opportunity to step into the world of engineering right on the Golden Gate Bridge. The Golden State Warriors Girls, Inc. of Alameda County and Rakuten teamed up to inspire young girls in STEM with an exclusive behind-the-scenes tour of the iconic bridge. It was led by female engineers. The middle schoolers explored its design, construction, and unique features through hands-on activities. For one girl, the experience was a game changer, igniting a new passion for engineering.
I didn't know what engineering was at first, so my first time getting to know about engineering and the fundamentals of it, especially from people that actually done it before, they made it really specific and helped me understand. And the main thing I really was learning about was like how the bridge was held down while all the cars just go back and forth on it.
The event continues this weekend as the girls build their own bridges and attend a Warriors game. Mary Lee brings us the full story tonight at 5 on our evening edition. Coming up, we're going to show you how a local artist is giving trash a second life.
Everything here would have or will be thrown away.
break from the rain as we head into this afternoon. Into the overnight hours tonight, though, more sweeps in from offshore. Our coastal areas, including Half Moon Bay, Pacifica, and along the peninsula, will continue to see some of the heavier amounts of rain fall into the early morning hours tomorrow. And at that point, some more unsettled weather is in the forecast for us from Santa Rosa all the way down into San Jose. What I'm trying to get at is we're going to see on and off showers from today until tomorrow evening, because once we head into tomorrow evening, we clear up fast. We'll see sunnier skies for Friday, heading into Saturday too. But from now until then, in the meantime, we're still dealing with about 1/100 of an inch of rain off into the East Bay, a little bit more impressive numbers down south where the origin of that storm is actually sweeping in. So just to paint the picture one more time, we do dry up as we head into our Friday and Saturday forecast. Keep that in mind for all your planning purposes. And as we head into this weekend, if you have any outdoor activities, Saturday is a beautiful day to do it with mid-60s in the forecast along the bay, with cloudy skies rolling in as we head into our Sunday forecast. It'll be a little bit warmer in our inland spots and the upper 60s, close to the 70s, but then we jump right back to the 50s heading into next week.
Well, some Bay Area music lovers are already looking forward to Outside Lands 2025, the big music festival returning for its 17th year in Golden Gate Park, and early ticket access now on sale. The Eager Beaver pre-sale is open with tickets starting at $485. That is for a 3-day pass. A VIP pass will set you back about $1,000. And if you want to get married there, yeah, you can buy a package for that too. Festival set for August 8th to 10th. They have not announced the lineup yet, but it's usually some pretty big artists. Well, some people turn paints into masterpieces. Others work with a different palette, trash. Itai Had met up with a local trash artist, turning what others toss out into works that are anything but garbage.
When people talk trash about Austin Zombres' art, he doesn't get offended, because technically, they're not wrong.
Looks like it has a little bit too much moisture in the bottom.
Zombres is what's known as a trash artist. Once a week, he scours San Francisco's sidewalks, dumpsters, and stores, searching for what the rest of us throw away.
Do you have any, like maybe extra cigarette cartons?
His journey into the world of garbage began during a tough time, when buying traditional art supplies was out of reach.
Oh, thank you, man.
What started as a necessity soon became a passion and a mission.
Everything here would have or will be thrown away.
His studio is equal parts art gallery and recycling center, where cartons and boxes get a second chance at life.
No paint or pen used is one of my major rules.
His hyper-detailed collages reimagine familiar objects, like sneakers, burgers, and today, bananas. Each piece takes between 30 and 300 hours to complete, and can sell for as much as $4,000.
One time I cut out 1,500 sesame seeds by hand, and the repetitiveness gave me some cramps.
It's that obsessive attention to detail that caught the art world's eye, leading to an invitation from the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art to showcase his technique in a live workshop.
It's about looking at things differently.
Krista Oropeza, owner of Incline Gallery, says trash or sustainable art is gaining traction because of the message it carries. But even he admits that at times it could be confusing.
No, that's not art here.
No, this is not.
This is actual.
This is for picking up trash here.
For Zombres, it's about turning the unwanted into the unexpected.
It's just something out of the box.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Proving that trash really can become treasure. As for anyone who says otherwise, well, that's just rubbish.
Well, thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your first alert forecast and another look at your top stories.